It's nice to meet you, Rabab.
Same here, Eric. Thank you.
I'd have to say it's a bit unusual because, as you know from the title of who we are, Automobilist, we normally deal with cars and racing cars.
Yeah.
So you're a sort of crossover between that world and the world of art, I suppose, because of what happened last year with the special livery.
Correct.
I think maybe I'm the wrong person. Maybe some of the arty guys at the office should be interviewing you about the creative process.
I think everyone is arty. If you dig deep inside, you'll find that you are also arty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was always rubbish at painting at school.
See, that's everyone. Everyone says that about themselves, but it's in reality, it's we're all creatives.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's nice to know. You owe some of your creativity to your mother, I gather. She's an artist as well. Is that right? Is that how you got in?
So she's not actually an artist by the definition that we put on artists today, but I literally grew up seeing her create something every day. Like it was, I think, her outlet. We were 5 siblings, and she was quite busy, but she felt like she needed to do something, I think, for herself. So she was always creating something. She was like either painting on silk or painting on glasses or painting on a bottle, an old bottle, or making candles. So she was always very creative, which I think, and there was no Instagram, like she wasn't like showing, yeah, she wasn't showing her work anywhere, but nevertheless, it never kept her, it didn't keep her from creating something.
Yeah.
So this was really my inspiration to start painting and start also creating for myself.
So was that what you always wanted to do for as long as you can remember? Or?
So no, that's not the storyline. I was actually in the corporate world. I actually studied. I went to hotel school and I studied hotel management. I worked for hotel chains for 15, 20 years. And then at some point I was like, I really needed to get out of the corporate role. I had 3 kids of my own. It was very, very busy. But I went back to what I saw my mother doing, and I felt like I needed an outlet as well, and I needed a creative outlet. And this is when I started painting 12 years ago almost.
All right. Okay. So quite a late career change.
Yeah, I started, and that's also part of my story that I'm really proud of, that I started painting when I was 37. And I started spray painting when I was 47. So it's never, it's part of like the message I want to like make sure everyone knows that it's like really never too late.
Yeah. Well, that's a good message. And on introducing the motor racing element, is it true that your father was a racing fan and you became a fan as well? I think I've seen that somewhere.
No, it was like, honestly, like, you know how my father was like a total fan of cars. Like he was definitely, he loved cars so much. And at some point we actually had a car dealership.
All right.
In Cairo, and the ads for the car dealership had me on an old Buick car, and I was like maybe 5 years old, like a typical ad. I need to pull that out and send it to you because it's funny. But yeah, no, the racing was mostly my family, my husband and my kids. Like we're very, we're huge fans of Formula One, and we have quite a rivalry here in the house. Like literally, everyone in the house backs up a different team, so it becomes really interesting on race days.
Okay. Do you want to run through your family's team list then?
So my husband is a huge Mercedes Lewis Hamilton fan.
Okay.
My elder daughter is a huge Max Verstappen Red Bull fan. My middle daughter is like she's more into like the drivers rather than the actual teams.
Yeah.
And my son is he's into motocross. He rides motocross.
Right.
He's 13 years old, and he is I think he's confused. He doesn't know like who to who to back up. So, but it gets really interesting. Obviously, this past year has been really interesting watching the races, and
Okay.
it heated up.
So obviously you knew quite a bit about the sport then. How were you approached to do, because let's get to the specifics
Yeah,
of the
sure.
of the Vuse project and then the
Yeah.
fantastic livery you created for the McLaren for the last race of last year. How did that come about? How were you approached?
So I was approached by Lindsay Orange. She's part of Driven, like she's the founder of Driven by Diversity and the Motorsport Collective. And basically I was given at the beginning very limited details about the project itself. I think they were still in the search for the artist to do the work. And I was like, as soon as she said Formula One, Abu Dhabi, I was like, yes, I'm in, whatever it is, I'm going to do it. But in my head, I never imagined it to be this big. It was definitely not like in my head, it was definitely not a livery project. I thought I was being approached to paint a mural in Abu Dhabi. That was like my highest thing, and I was like, wow, I'm gonna be on the track in Abu Dhabi. So
okay.
This is how it started in June of last year.
All right. So of course it isn't the racing fans will have seen the livery on the cars. Maybe they're not aware that there was a piece of artwork to go with it. So is that what you started from, the artwork? And did you do the artwork and then was there help required to actually adapt it to the livery?
Absolutely. So at the beginning, we spoke about different themes. So we talked about the sunset and start the race starting in the day and ending in the night, which is something typical to Abu Dhabi. I did a few renders and designs to show what we can do. Obviously, there was a lot of moving from a 2D, artwork. I paint on canvas or on a mural, so it's like very 2D, and I did not have the capability of the technical capabilities to put this on the car. So that's when Davide Verdis, who is an amazing automotive designer, he joined our team, and he was crucial to move my my artwork onto actually what it would actually look like on the car. And he has all I'm a fan of F1, but I don't know anything about the cars, to be honest with you. It's more about the race and the excitement of the race that I'm a fan of. But he had the knowledge to know where we need to put what and what will look good. And finally, when we decided that we were going to do the Nubians, I started painting, I started sketching, I started putting things on actual paper, and so that we can see how it looks like. And he was the person who transformed this onto the design that you saw in the car.
Well, because obviously, you probably became aware that the way the cars are painted, even that has an implication on how they perform on the track.
Absolutely. Every gram, every gram counts. This was a really interesting and amazing learning opportunity as well for me, because there's so much that I learned through the process. There's so much that I learned when I actually went and saw the car. And first of all, these cars are huge. It doesn't you don't seeing them on the TV or even in the race. It's still, when you stand next to it, it's it has a completely different view.
Yeah, because a lot of conventional, if we can call it that, conventional painting, say with oils, involves the actual texture of the paint, and it can be quite thick and everything. But that's a complete anathema for a Formula One car. It has to be the thinnest of thin things.
Yes.
You say, and you can see it in the artwork, you've started painting these things that you've got a series of, the Nubian series.
The Nubians, yeah.
But they're all, as the Nubians are, they're normally dressed in white. your normal paintings reflect that. So this must have been a very big change, because obviously there's the papaya orange color from McLaren, but it's an entirely much more colorful piece of art than you would normally be doing in that series. What prompted that?
So the series itself has actually developed over the years. So when I started painting the Nubians, I started painting them as they would normally dress, which is white, with white turbans. And but then literally everybody who would look at my paintings would have like an idea of what they would look like, because we live in the UAE, and also in the UAE, the national dress is white.
Yes.
It's not necessarily turbans, but like the young people would wear something similar to a turban. So when people who came to my exhibitions or saw my artwork would see them, they would always have questions, and they would always find something that relates to them in a way. So people would say, are they locals? And then later on, I started bringing in color into them, and people were asking, are they women? So the series itself has developed into becoming colorful. So that was before delivery. I had already my figures have already been colorful,
right.
And they would the colors for me represent us, like represent people from different parts of the world, represent different cultures, languages, skin colors, everything. So this is also, I think, tied in with the whole theme of being one.
Yeah. So is that this driven by change initiative? Is that something that wasn't something strange to you at all? It's reflected in your work generally, is it? Do you think?
Correct. It is. I think everything about my work and everything about what I stand for is more about inclusivity. It's more about really reflecting who we are, and that we're really not that different than each other, no matter where we come from. We are literally one. Like, what we want is pretty much the same at the basis of everything.
That's quite a strong message with everything that goes on in the Middle East, isn't it? And,
exactly.
A lot has been made of the fact that, you know, this artwork was produced by somebody from your part of the world and everything. So a sort of pride, I guess, to be involved in something as popular as Formula One with such a huge global audience.
Yeah, I mean, Egypt completely, like, obviously there was no one knew about it, because it was like it was a secret project, and nobody knew about it until the reveal. So as soon as it came out, like literally my phone was off the hook between all the Egyptian press. And you know, Egypt, we're like 90 million people, so everything becomes like becomes huge. So I was like, I did a lot of interviews with Egyptian press and Egyptian TV. And yeah, it was really definitely a source of pride. Everybody was like sending me messages about how proud they were that, first of all, a woman did this, and second, a woman from the Middle East, from Egypt, from this part of the world.
I was going to say, it's a bit of a cliche, but the fact that you're a woman, given some perceptions of what life is like for women in the Middle East, I guess that was another important factor, another important message, maybe.
Yeah, it's you know, it's we're tied to a culture that, you know, that is very masculine, and especially in certain areas, like also even without the Middle East, like F1 is a very masculine. Like, forget about the Middle East, like
yes.
It's, you know, it is not it's not an area or a place where a lot of women work, or has historically not been very open to women. So for me, it's a big deal whether I'm from the Middle East or from the UK or from the US. It means exactly the same. It's, for me, it's more about, again, sending a message that everything is possible. Like, really, you just work hard, do what you're passionate about, give it your all, and things happen.
Okay. Did you actually attend the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix?
I did. That was the highlight.
Okay.
I
What
did.
do you remember? What do you remember most about that then?
Honestly, it was like it was one surreal moment after the other, like from meeting Zach Brown and meeting everyone at McLaren, meeting the drivers, being right there on the grid. Like the grid was the highlight because I was invited to get on the grid
All right.
right before, and that was like I was like completely on cloud nine. I was just walking around, not even believing where I am, seeing all the cars lined up, seeing all the press, or everyone was like, but everyone was at ease, kind of. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like the one that was way too excited.
Has it given you a taste for maybe trying to do something else linked to Formula One in your art, or?
I would love to. I'm like very open to. I'm in general like very open to all kind of projects because I believe even if I'm like if I don't know much about it, like how this project was, I could I could get help and like working as a team, which is also one of the biggest part of this. Like we worked for 6 months with teams of people on this project that we were all on like Zoom calls and like video calls, internet calls, because I'm here in Dubai. Pretty much everyone was in the UK.
Yeah.
And so that on its own was like an amazing experience. I mean, imagine getting this done via the internet. Like,
Yeah.
except for the one time I went to the UK to see the car and like film some of the content.
I was going to ask, have you been to the McLaren factory then? Did you see the cars?
I have been, yeah. I have been, and that was also another surreal moment. It was really amazing.
Your career as a woman designer, artist, and anything, what I guess it's some pluses and some minuses, would you say, along the way?
Of course. I mean, art in general is like I don't want to just like single out art, but art has a lot of difficulties in terms of as an artist getting into a gallery, being exhibited. I've really had like a hard time with that in my career. Because like when I started painting and when I started selling my paintings, I all of a sudden thought, oh wow, now everyone would want to have me in their gallery. But I think I was a bit too naive when I started like reaching out to galleries. I was probably not the person that they wanted. There is like some kind of an element or a certain look or a certain like box that artists should fit in. And being a mother is kind of not like being a mother artist is kind of not the right box somehow.
Right.
Because I think a lot of women, when they start something like that, when they start something creative or they start something they do with their hand, like any creative thing, they're looked at as if this is a hobby. That okay, go ahead and like do your thing, bravo, or like we're not taking seriously.
Right.
Especially mothers, not only women but especially mothers. Which is really a pity, because then again you put us in a certain box that this is a hobby for us and not to be taken as an art career. And that's something I really faced here and when I started painting. And in all honesty, I kind of lost like hope in the art world, and I was just like doing my thing. I was painting because painting is what was bringing me joy, and was also bringing people who wanted to have my art in their homes or in their surroundings. It felt good to have my art in people's homes and in people's spaces, basically.
Okay. And I guess you took inspiration from your mother, though, who was herself a strong woman by the sound of it, who did her own thing a bit.
Correct. Yeah, my mother like did her own thing every single day. She didn't care. She had 5 kids to raise. She was pretty much all the time in the kitchen, as like mothers were, and at that time. But she found time for herself, which is again one thing that is very important for women. whether they have, whether they decide they're going into a professional career or they want to stay home and do their thing with their families, and or whether they don't want to do anything at all. I think it's very important that we have something that we care about, we're passionate about, and do that for ourselves, because in general, women are always doing something for someone else. Whether it's the family, whether it's the children, whether it's friends, even being a supportive friend, whether at work, and we kind of maybe forget about ourselves a bit.
And is your work, is that a way that it blows your troubles away and relieves your stress?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think art has that power. Like, art has the power of stress relief, and again, a lot of people think, oh, I'm not an artist. My drawings were terrible at school. My teacher told me that that this is like not good. And unfortunately, stuff like this, I hear it 99% of the time when I meet people, and they always say, oh, but I wish I had your talent. I wish I was talented in that way. But really, if you dig deep, and if you really give yourself a chance, and again, 90% of these people, when I ask them back, have you even tried to paint recently? Did you give it a go? And they would always say, no, they have not. So it's really only a it's something in our minds. It's a story that we tell ourselves that we're not creative, which I think it's really not true. If people give themselves the chance to try, they will know that it's nothing difficult, really. It's the art world also that have given us that maybe art is a bit elitist, or is a bit like for certain type of people, or you should understand this painting, you should know what this means. And that created like a barrier and a wall between people, between the public in general and art, because everybody thinks it has to be something complicated. It has to be something has a certain meaning, and it becomes very intellectual, and which is actually not. Like, all you need to do with a painting is look at it and feel something. You don't even have to understand what it says, or why was it painted this way, or what did the artist mean when they painted it. I feel like you get a feeling when you see a painting, and that's enough.
Okay. Do you have time to do anything else, or for relaxation?
For relaxation, no, it's only art.
Okay.
It's only art, and watching my son ride motocross jumping over hills and dunes in the desert.
That sounds more stressful.
Exactly. That's why I need art.
Well, it was nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Eric. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
And I've looked at quite a lot of your stuff now while researching this, so
I hope you liked it.
I did, yes. Yeah, very much.